Hello, I'm Peter and welcome to part 2 of my Tekken guide on pressuring with Bryan Fury. Yes, I know it's been a while since we touched upon this topic because we had the season 3 trailer revealed and I wanted to really do my reactions, breakdowns, and thoughts and wishes on that. And in this video, we've finally gotten back to it. In this video, we'll understand how Bryan's pressure works. Specifically, how to transition into other game plans such as space control, counter hitting, and pressure looping into pressure. As a quick refresher, Bryan's pressure works as a mind game and commitment, so it's based off of those two factors. And anyone who might be a little confused as to what the hell I'm talking about, I've gone ahead and linked the entire Bryan playlist in the comment description below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Pressure tools. A quick overview on pressure. The purpose of pressure is to extend our turn, maintain momentum, and force the opponent to make quick decisions. First, we're going to do a refresher, or rather an overview on Bryan's pressure tools. Then we'll take a look at the different potential follow-ups. Needless to say, these moves are best used at range 1 and 0. And I'm gonna go pretty fast over this because this is mostly covered in the Bryan 101 fundamentals video. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 3. All right, if 3 plus 4 is the backbone of space control, then this string series is the backbone of pressure. Specifically, Bryan's 1 jab and his 1-2 attack is great at starting pressure. Make sure to vary these attacks. You never want to get too predictable with them. Bryan players who only use 1, 2, 3, you know who you are. Don't limit yourself to just this attack. Vary it up. 1 plus 2 and 1 plus 2, 2. This is not so much for pressure, but more for poking and a checking tool. If we can't get a read on which direction our opponent will sidestep or sidewalk, 1 plus 2 is the go-to attack. It is a relatively fast homing attack that has an element of a mind game attached to it, right? With the optional 2. If the opponent loves to press buttons after 1 plus 2, throw out the last hit as a bait to counter hit them. Down forward 1, machine gun blow. If our opponent sidestep right into our weak side, then down forward 1 is the fastest option. 2 frames faster than 1 plus 2. Not only is down forward 1 good for stopping sidewalk right or sidestep right, it's also great for locking down and starting a mind game to enable pressure with additional follow-ups. It's even better at the wall, especially because the opponent cannot backdash out and the down forward ones are guaranteed to more or less connect. Always be unpredictable with the number of volleys that you use for machine gun blow. Don't always do 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever it is. Vary it up. Down forward 2, down forward 2, 1, and down forward 2, 3. This is our fastest mid poke to check opponents who are either ducking, jumping, or pressing buttons when they really shouldn't, right? Outside of poking, this move can be used as a pressure tool. While it is -6 on block, it can be used for pressure when combined with mind games. Think of it as, will we do just a single down forward 2? Will we go for a down forward 2, 1? Or perhaps will we go for a down forward 2, 3? This should be the approach when trying to use this attack as a pressure tool. Down 4. This is a fantastic low poke that starts up relatively quickly, reaches from almost range 2, and is neutral on hit. When spaced out correctly, this attack is virtually unpunishable. When used at range 0, we can try to follow up with more pressure, but most likely we can just back off if we need to. And use this attack really to annoy the opponent and chip them at a range while not committing too much. Down back 3. This is another great low poke that starts up quickly. Down back 3 recovers in crouching with -1 on hit, so attacks afterwards are limited, but it's great because it slips under high attacks and allows us to get in some annoying chip damage. Back 1, Chopping Elbow. Chopping Elbow is the premier pressure tool that grants plus frames on hit and on block. Use this attack if our opponent is somewhat being respectful. Now, I do want to point out 2 weaknesses of this attack in that 1, it's linear, and 2, it's fairly slow on startup and can get stuffed by counter hit attacks. So, you have to either be cautious about throwing this attack out, or 2, go for it, and don't be a pussy. Quarter circle back 3, Hatchet Kick. Hatchet Kick is our predominant low attack to tack on damage and gain plus frames for opponents who refuse to duck and is somewhat patient. Similar to Chopping Elbow, its main weakness is that there is never a good time to really throw it out there because it's fairly slow on startup. When performed perfectly, it comes out in 21 frames or so, but usually it might probably be a few frames slower. Now that we've talked about the main pressure tools, let's take a deeper look at how they can be paired with other moves to deal with common situations. Let me repeat this disclaimer from Bryan Keep Out Game Plan. Putting this into practice is harder than it seems because it requires reading your opponent on the fly. So it's easier said than done. Now, avoid approaching pressure in the same way every time to prevent your opponent from picking up on tendencies. Pressure versus mashers. Now, in this section, I've gone ahead and lumped together pressure into pressure and pressure into counter hitting game plan. And this is because Bryan's pressure into pressure and pressure into counter hitting are fairly fluid and transitioning from one to another. So this game plan will revolve around pressuring hyper aggressive opponents or opponents who love to mash buttons, right? Since these type of players are most likely to press some sort of buttons ranging from, I don't know, standing jabs to dick jabs to hop kicks, safety is our main concern. So yes, against mashers, we're gonna play like little pussies because we don't want to get hop kicked for no reason. The first situation we're gonna look at is +3 situations, and you can get this off of back 1 on block. And the first option up is dick jabs. This will beat any attack that the opponent throws at us. Any attack that the opponent tries to do, we'll stuff them clean with a dick jab. There is no attack in the game that will beat out the speed of our dick jab. One word of caution. Be very careful when dick jabbing against crazy hop kick like attacks. For instance, Lucky Chloe. Yes, she will beat out our dick jab every time with her hop kick when we're at +3. Second option, down forward 2. Use this attack to check opponents who are throwing out 11 frame attacks or slower. If the opponent is dick jabbing us or stand jabbing us, this will trade. Now, we're probably wondering, why in the world would we just trade attacks with the opponent? Why not just go for a dick jab and, get the advantage? Well, the idea is not necessarily to trade a down forward 2 for a dick jab, but to stop anything slower. I advocate this option over dick jabbing because, for example, if the opponent tries to do something like a down forward 1 or better yet, a YOLO hop kick, our attack with down forward 2 will poke them out of it and give us frame advantage. However, if we go for something like a dick jab against Lucky Chloe, you're gonna get blown up every single time with a hop kick. So down forward 2 is the better option. Okay, second situation to look at. +4 frames of advantage. Now we can get +4 advantage on from 4 attacks. That's 1-4, down forward 2-1, while standing 3, and quarter circle back 3, aka hatchet kick. Plus 4 frames after these attacks, there's only one attack really that I would probably recommend, and that's to throw out a down forward 2. After any of those attacks, we are guaranteed a down forward 2 if our opponent presses any buttons whatsoever. At plus 4, our down forward 2 no longer trades with 10 frame jabs anymore. Instead, it cleanly beats it out by 1 frame. Plus 5 situation, and we can get this off of 3 moves. 1-2, down forward 2, and while standing 4. Now at plus 5, there are 2 options that we go for. The first option is down forward 2. This is very similar to the plus 4 frame scenario that we just went over, except this time we cleanly beat them out by 2 frames. Some might be wondering why we don't throw out jet upper or mock punch here, since, that's 14 frames and would beat all 10 frame options, but jet upper and mock punch are both high attacks, and they just straight up lose to dick jabs or low attacks, or if the opponent is just crazy and then ducks, we could get launch punished. The second option that we can go for when at plus 5 is machine gun blow. If we don't mind trading with 10 frame attacks, then we can go for machine gun blow. Machine gun blow will beat out any attacks that is 11 frames or slower. So while we do trade with 10 frame attacks, should the opponent throw out anything slower, then we can hit confirm into some chunky damage. Plus 6. Alright, we can get this off of 4 attacks. 1-2-1, 2-3, 1+2, and quarter circle back 2. Okay, there are 2 options here that we can go for when at plus 6. The first being machine gun blow. This will beat out any attack that the opponent throws out at us. Generally speaking, even the craziest of players won't try to contest something that leaves us at plus 6, but in the case they do, the first is machine gun blow, obviously, and here down forward 1 is guaranteed to hit 1 frame faster than even the fastest option that most players have access to, making it a guaranteed and great option. Alright, the second option that we have access to is forward 3. This attack will trade with any 10 frame attack, but because we are guaranteed a counter hit launcher on trade, this will almost always be in our favor. I would highly recommend this option over down forward 1, simply because after forward 3 we are still neutral, and if the opponent does press buttons, then we get a counter hit launcher. One thing I would like to point out is that even when we're at plus 3, plus 4, or even plus 5, our fastest mid checking tool, down forward 2, will whiff on sidestepping or sidewalking opponents. So make sure to not just autopilot directly to down forward 2 every time, right? Since a good player will at times sidestep and quite possibly whiff punish you for this. Every now and then when your opponent does sidestep, to avoid pressure, try throwing in a 1+2 to keep them honest. As you may have noticed, I did not put hatchet kick or chopping elbow here, as it may be quite difficult to get these attacks on an opponent who's constantly just mashing. If and when we see the opponent calm down, then we can try throwing these attacks in. So as a quick recap, safety is our main concern against players who are looking to hop kick, jab, or do some quick move to challenge us on our plus frames. Use the following options I listed above to guarantee to stuff them out, and throw in a 1+2 if our opponent is sidestepping when we are at plus frames, and only use hatchet kick and chopping elbow when the opponent has somewhat calmed down. Okay, pressure against patient opponents. Now, again, I've lumped pressure into pressure and pressure into counter hitting into this category. At some point, our opponent will stop pressing buttons, hopefully, on our plus frames? If not, then continue from the list I've done previously. But when the opponent does become more patient, this is where the fun can start and the real pressure begins. Keep in mind that even the most patient of players can at times, at the drop of a dime, start pressing buttons on our plus frames. This is not uncommon, as one can only take so much pressure before deciding to either challenge or do something crazy. So to successfully pressure patient opponents, there will be two main determining factors we need to know. One, just how patient is this opponent? And two, how big are your balls? And to measure how big your balls are, since I know some of you might not know, I'm going to use an example. Take a look. Walnuts. This means you've got some balls, but just regular sized balls. Nothing impressive, and you're cautious about frame data, but not afraid to trade. Kiwis. You've definitely got some impressive sized balls, and it's evident. You care about frame data, but you're willing to take some risks to get some pressure going. Oranges. And I don't mean those small little tangerine oranges. No, I mean those big navel oranges. You've got some big balls here. You know that you might get launched, but you can't always play scared, and you know this. So you're willing to put some pressure on. And last but not least, coconuts. All right. You've got massive balls and they're hard as a rock. You don't give a fuck about frame data and you're not scared of your opponent. All you want to do is impose your will. Specifically, this category of balls is geared towards two moves: back one and quarter circle back three. There is never a really safe time to use these attacks because they have 20 frame startups and 21 frame startups, so there's always going to be some form of risk involved in being counter hit out of these attacks. So choosing when to go ham will be important. So we're going to look at +3 and +4 frame situations, right? At +3 we can get it off of back one on block, and at +4 we can, get it from 1-4 down forward 2-1 while standing 3 and hatchet kick. Down forward 2. Now if you do a down forward 2 when at +3 to 4, you have walnut sized balls. If the opponent wavers between passive and offensive, I would personally use this. We might lose our turn on block, but then again, sometimes we do need more time to develop a better idea of just how patient the opponent is before we decide to go for bigger ball plays, right? Machine gun blow. If you use this, then you have kiwi sized balls. This is good for checking opponents who are trying to sidestep right. On block, we're able to lock the opponent down and start some sort of a mind game. And this is extra good at the wall. Use this option if the opponent doesn't have a counter hit launcher that is 12 frames or faster. So against characters like Asuka, Katarina, Kazumi, Law, these characters that have 11 frame magic force, they can launch us clean. So against these characters, you probably should use a little bit of caution, but also think about it this way. Against characters who have 12 frame counter hit launchers, we can also get launched and it will not be in our favor. So against characters like Josie, Leo, Miguel, Paul. These characters that have 12 frame magic force can also trade with us and still launch us. So be cautious about that as well. But nonetheless, if you use machine gun blow when at +3 to 4, you have kiwi sized balls. Willing to take risks because you can't always play scared. Forward 3. If you use this option when at +3 to 4, you have orange sized balls. This is an in-between of pressure and counter hitting, right? Use this because we can return back to neutral frames even if it is blocked, and on the upside that we get counter hit or get a counter hit, then we can get a sizable combo. The downside of forward 3 is that at +3 frames of advantage, when we're at +3 frames of advantage, then we can get launched clean now with 11 and 12 frame counter hits, and we trade with 13 frame counter hit attacks. 1+2, ball size, oranges. This is an in-between of pressuring and checking the opponent. At only +3 to 4 frames, the opponent can quite easily sidestep or sidewalk away from some of the pressure we decide to throw out. Moves like down forward 2, machine gun blow, and forward 3. All of these attacks can be evaded with lateral movement, right? To keep ourselves from getting constantly sidestepped or sidewalked when we're at plus frames, make sure to throw out 1+2 if you notice they're stepping or walking away, because we do have to take risks in throwing out 1+2, but we need to do it sometimes. So grow some balls, get those oranges. Forward 4-4, mock kick. Ball size, coconuts. Along the same lines as 1+2, mock kick is used to keep opponents from moving laterally. However, this is a big balls play and a big brain play too, because mock kick, first of all, is a high, and it doesn't come out as fast as 1+2. We really have to make sure on this. If we notice our opponent is sidewalking us a lot, then use it. Do note that if we are wrong on this read and it is blocked, our turn is effectively over at -10 with no pushback and even possibly punished by a dick jab. We don't really want to press any buttons. Hatchet kick and back one. You already know this, but if you go for these options when at +3 to 4, you got coconut sized balls, my friend. So these are the last two moves where we can really show our opponents who's got the real balls and who's not afraid to press buttons. Hatchet kick and chopping elbow against super patient opponents who refuse to duck any attacks, or I guess low parry any of the attacks. Make sure to hatchet kick the shit out of them. Some of the opponents are very well aware that Bryan's scariest attacks are his mid attacks, and that pressing buttons actually at frame disadvantage can result in some sort of unpleasant results, i.e. getting counter hit. If you find that you are playing against one of those players, then don't be afraid to throw out hatchet kick multiple times in a row. Once, twice, 3 times, whatever. Additionally, against these opponents, you can also go for a back one as well to continue mixing them up. If the opponent's not going to try to be interrupting the hatchet kick, probably they're not going to try to interrupt the back one, most likely. If that is indeed the case, then it seems that they're more willing to try to block the hatchet kick, and then the back one will most likely try to mix them up. So toss this in here every now and then. So to sum things up, pressure against patient opponents is a game of figuring out how to get around their blocking defense and when to ease up on the offense. I would like to think of this as driving a car. Imagine Bryan's offense against the opponent as having your foot on the gas. You cannot constantly leave your foot on the gas, as you'll go faster and faster and faster and eventually lead to your downfall. But on the opposite spectrum, you can't not have your foot on the gas and just only have it on the brake either, because you'll literally go nowhere. So finding out metaphorically how long you can keep your foot on the gas, aka how long to keep pressuring the opponent, will be a skill developed over time as you play more and more opponents with different timings, styles of play, and level of patience. You'll become better at judging when to use big ball plays or when to cash out on your life lead and play defensively. Against super defensive players, the coconut sized plays like hatchet kicks, chopping elbow, and mock kick 444 are great as they put a lot of pressure and keep them guessing. Against defensive players who occasionally will challenge you, perhaps something in the middle of the road like Kiwi or orange size ball plays are better suited, since attacks like machine gun blow, forward 3, and 1+2 do not take nearly as long to start up, so those are probably better. And against, super button happy opponents who just love to mash, refer to the previous section I outlined above in the how to pressure mashers, right? Now, I realize that I didn't talk about how to pressure from +5 or +6 frames of advantage, and the reason why I didn't talk about that is in part because it's rather unlikely that an opponent who is patient is going to press buttons at +5 or +6 frames. So that's usually the case. And also, I didn't really talk about it because you can just use the examples for +3 to +4 in your +5 to +6 frames of advantage. And now to the last section. Pressure to space control. At some point, we will need to ease up on our offense, since our opponent may decide to get desperate and decide to throw out something crazy, even if they are patient. Because of this, sometimes it's quite a good idea to put on some pressure and then just back off and play keep out or space control. And believe me, Bryan has a lot of good ways to transition from pressure to space control. So let's go over them. I'm going to go over some of the moves, as I don't have time to go over every single possible pressure to space control option, since I don't know, that would take 3 hours to do. First up, backdashing into 3+4. Now, you can get this a number of ways, and the most common would be standing 1, block or hit, 1-2, block or hit, back 1 on block or hit, down forward 1-1-1-2, machine gun blow on hit, while standing 3 on hit, 1+2 on hit, down back 3 on block or hit, and down 4, block or hit. Now that I've gone ahead and listed these moves, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of other moves where we can backdash out fairly safely and avoid attacks, but for the sake of time, I'm going to show these moves. So what exactly are we hoping to accomplish with this? Well, we're doing it for 3 things, right? With backdashing into a space control tool such as 3+4. First and foremost, we are keeping ourselves safe. Yes, it's important to pressure, but at times we need to back off and remember the metaphor with the foot on the gas of the car. Remember, we shouldn't just pressure. We need to back off every once in a while. By constantly attacking, we're not doing something, and that is blocking. So backdashing after any of these attacks keeps us safe in case the opponent decides to throw something out. Second, we are creating an opportunity to whiff punish. These attacks here, for the most part, if spaced out properly, allow us to safely backdash and have some of the most common attacks that you see whiff, and have us be able to whiff punish it with 3+4. Even if the enemy throws out, say, a fast attack, like a jab or something, and is able to block in time, we are still able to push them back and reestablish neutral. Yes, I'm very well aware that certain characters like Jack, Gigas, or Bears can reach us with their jabs, but against some of the other characters, that's not always the case, right? And yes, characters like Katarina, Claudio, Lucky Chloe, they can reach us with their hop kicks. But again, this is character specific. Third, we are potentially setting up an opportunity for a counter hit. By backing off, the opponent might hesitate for a fraction of a second and then decide to dash up and throw something out that could get themselves counter hit. If the opponent thinks our attack is over because simply we backdashed, they might very well throw out something slower, and that's our opportunity to counter hit them. For instance, if we throw out 1+2, right, the opponent would be like, okay, well, Bryan's at +6, and then we backdash, and they're like, oh, he backdashed, now it's my turn, bam, that's when we counter hit. The last point I would like to make about this is that whenever we're backdashing, we don't have to necessarily immediately throw out 3+4 after a backdash. We can actually wait a tiny bit before throwing this 3+4, right? We can do an attack, wait a little bit, shimmy back and forth, and then decide to throw out 3+4. By doing this, we are changing up the timings of our attacks and essentially mixing up the opponent by being less predictable. Side walking into 3+4, and this can be done off of 4 attacks. Forward 3 on block or hit, quarter circle back 3 hatchet kick on hit, down forward 2-1 on hit, and down forward 1-1-1-1-2 machine gun blow on hit. Again, these are just some examples. There are more, and I implore you guys to go out there and try the different options. But along the same lines as backdashing, sidestepping, or rather side walking into 3+4 is a great option as well. By side walking, we're able to avoid a whole host of linear attacks, right? Like attacks like a standing jab, dick jab, hop kicks, and a whole host of other moves. And I'll just be playing them here in the background so you can see while I talk. And this is a fantastic way to think about trying to avoid attacks besides just linearly, right? A lot of times, especially players who are coming from a 2D background, all they think about is the 2D aspect, where you're moving forward and moving back, moving forward, moving back. But moving sideways is a great opportunity to create whip punishes as well. And the reason behind this is because attacks like forward 3, quarter circle back 3 hatchet kick, and down forward 2-1, these attacks place us really close to the opponent, to the point that even if we backdash, we're still not in range to create a whiff punish. So because of that, we're now have to think about moving sideways into the 3D background and foreground in order to create that whiff opportunity happen. And because now we're also moving laterally by sidewalking or sidestepping, we are opening ourselves up to homing attacks, and attacks that track rather well to the sides, even if they're not homing attacks. So this is not a foolproof plan and is based around your reads and how well you can see what your opponent is doing. So we need to be careful about this option. Having previous reads on your opponent will be key here in determining when to throw out that 3+4 after that sidewalk, or should we even sidewalk at all? Because if our opponent is just throwing out tons of homing attacks, probably this is not even an option, right? Maybe we should just backdash or just block after these attacks. Alright guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and learn more about Bryan and his game plan and pressure. I would like to give a huge shout out to our new patrons. That's right, I've started a Patreon page and it's going to be linked below in the description and comments. So if you have enjoyed any of my free content on YouTube and would love to support me on this, please go ahead and give me some of your support. Additionally, I have also started a Discord page, and then this Discord server, and then this Discord server you can talk with myself, some of the other Patreons, viewers, subscribers, whichever. And if you just want to talk with us, chill, hang out, play some games, absolutely, man. So with that, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'm Peter, and I'm signing out. Have a great one, guys. Take care.